Hey y'all, welcome back to the Wandering Pilgrims podcast. I'm Courtney.
I'm Josh.
And in this episode, we are going to be doing a travel review from our trip to Old Salem in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So stick with us and we'll dive in. This episode of the Wandering Pilgrims podcast is sponsored by Anchor, the easiest and fastest way to record, edit, and distribute your podcast. We love Anchor and the Anchor app. We've used it from the very beginning. It's so user-friendly, whether you're a beginner or veteran. It's free to use with tons of editing tools and free music to use, just to name a few things. They also take care of distributing your podcast to all major podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google, and so many more. So if you're looking to get into podcasting but don't know where to start, download the Anchor app or visit anchor.fm to get started today. So Old Salem.
Old Salem.
That's where we decided to visit for a day trip for the holidays. We thought it would be historical and educational and decorated pretty. So
Yeah.
that's always nice to have a little extra something when we go somewhere.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's like a small colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It did remind me a lot of that. So, do you want to go into the background, or do you want me to? How do you want to?
Yeah, I went into it a little bit further in the video, but I can go into it a little bit now.
Yeah.
But, so Old Salem is founded by the Moravian Church, which finds its roots all the way back to Jan Hus, who was a Roman Catholic priest who had disagreements with the Roman Catholic Church about wanting everyone to be able to read Scripture in their own language, and about the sacraments. He was eventually burned at the stake as a heretic in 1415.
It was about 100 years before Luther.
Yeah. And originally, I think the Moravian Church, before they became a church, the people who followed Hus, they were called Hussites.
Okay.
I believe. And they have their own history, but even before the Reformation, of being persecuted by the Catholic Church and stuff like that. And eventually they get to a Lutheran Lord that's in Germany, I think.
It's Count Zinzendorf.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they actually make a little town on his property. And from there, they kind of branch out and put settlements in a lot of different colonies around the world, including Pennsylvania and North Carolina. North Carolina is Old Salem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think they also consider themselves to be the oldest Protestant denomination.
Yeah.
Now, I would probably argue that we've been to some other places that would also consider themselves to be the oldest or older. So, I mean, that's always up for debate, but I did see that somewhere, and I did think that was an interesting bit of history related to our faith.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of how we look at these things when we go to these places too. Because we always talk about the denominations in modern terms as we're discussing these things. But when we are doing these, and when we're going for educational purposes, like with our daughter. And just, we like to learn too. History we learn from, no matter where anything is now, we learn from history and what happened then, and the beginnings of the Moravian Church and how they got here was quite interesting, and we wanted to share that bit of knowledge. So that's kind of what we intend to concentrate on. We usually do when it comes to things that have to do with church history. At a place, we're concentrating on the history of the Moravians relating to Old Salem up to that point for this episode, because that relates to where we went, and you'll see a lot of that and hear a lot of that also in our do we call them adventure videos, or just our wandering videos, where we actually, you get to see footage of our trip, and lots of Josh editing and narration. Yeah. And usually our little one, Goofin, she likes to help make those videos. So back to the Moravians and Old Salem.
Yeah, so they set up quite the community there, and they had an emphasis on sharing everything. But to be there, it was odd, because you have, I think the oldest building there is called the Fourth House.
Okay.
And it was 1716 or something like that.
Yeah, pre-Revolutionary War.
Yeah, and I might be wrong about the exact date. I know it was the 1700s. But it was that old, and a private residence.
Well, not just that, but I always, or at least I thought it was interesting that we could be walking down the street here, and it was essentially two streets, parallel streets, and then of course the block squares in between. Yeah. But on one of the streets, you could look down at the end, and there's this massive skyscraper. From Winston-Salem, and I'm like, wow, you can really compare and contrast. But there was a lot of interesting architecture from lots of different periods there. Yeah. I really liked the probably some of the oldest, I guess, houses or shops that had the timbers with the bricks inlaid, and you'll see some of those in the video.
Those were some of the oldest,
I really like that. I don't know why. It looked really cool.
Yeah, they look great. They do. Would you have, you're walking down the street, it's not like Williamsburg. So if you've never been to Williamsburg is closed off. Yeah. You walk around Colonial Williamsburg. There's some other parts you have to drive to and stuff like that, but no, you can just straight up drive down through Old Salem. There's cars parked everywhere, because the houses are still, people live in them.
Yeah, yeah. And as far as Colonial Williamsburg goes, we're hoping to do a video on that in the future. That was a fun trip. Yes. If you follow us on Instagram, you might see some of our photos from that trip. That was an adventure for sure. But yeah, and having been at Colonial Williamsburg really gave us a perspective for being at Old Salem. Yeah. Because it is kind of similar, smaller scale. Yeah. But similar. Right in the middle of Old Salem, they had I guess you would call it town square.
Yes, it's a square, yeah.
And one of the things that I really liked was, while we were there, they had, what do we call it? What I would consider a more traditional band. You had tubas and horns.
Yeah, it was all brass.
Yeah. Playing Moravian Christmas carols. And just, I think, some general Christmas carols as well. And then come to find out, that the Moravians have this tradition, long-standing tradition, of music being very important to them, publishing, I believe, their first hymnal in 1505.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So you've got a Protestant hymnal, essentially, published before the Protestants.
Yeah.
Before the Reformation. So that goes back a ways. But that was really neat to see. And I thought it was interesting, too, as we started approaching the town square with the band playing and you started to hear it. The talking kind of died away.
Yeah.
And it got real quiet. Like people were just listening and paying attention. And these were songs that most people would recognize, so probably singing along either in their head or to themselves. And they're songs that, it's not jingle bells, like they're Christmas hymns.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that sparking a conversation or a memory or a thought that might help someone.
Yeah. They've got some a lot of cool stuff that you can look at there. Of course, they have the museum and everything. I mean, really, all of Old Salem is a museum if you think about it. They have reenactors and a lot of stuff going on.
The bakery
very
popular.
The bakery was very, very popular. Yes.
Moravian.
Yeah, it was a very, very long line.
And cakes. Yeah, very long line.
Yeah.
I think you took a video of how long the line was. I think that might be in the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting. It wasn't terribly expensive. I mean, for the three of us, it was around $50 to get in.
Yeah.
So not a super expensive trip. But it's got lots of more interaction than signage.
Yeah.
As far as learning goes, interpreters. When we went, not everything was open.
Yeah.
But still, it was nice what we got to see. I'm a reader, so I really like signage. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate there are people that are doing these reenactments because they are way more knowledgeable than those signs.
Yeah.
But we got a 6-year-old running around, so I'm the one who likes to take a snapshot of it and read it on the way home.
Yeah.
Because 6-year-old attention span isn't always good for a 30 to 40 minute presentation, depending on what we've got going on. But they had some different reenactments going on at their boys' school.
Yeah.
They had different people in period dress in the town square talking about different things as well.
Yeah, there was like a dude walking around, and he was basically just asking people if they had questions about Old Salem or the Moravians or...
Yeah. Lots of church buildings there too. One that's still in use.
Yeah.
I can't remember when it was built.
I don't remember, but it's Home Moravian Church.
Okay.
Is the name of it.
And then they had some older church buildings.
I think I took a video from the inside, and I want to say the lady said 1939.
Okay.
Is when the interior was remodeled.
Oh, okay.
Because she directed everyone to another building at the other end of town that was an older church.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really neat to walk around through there.
Yeah.
Any other cool facts that you liked or found interesting? The visitor center where you get the tickets has different displays and information about different people and the history of Salem and the Moravians.
Yeah. I will say this, they have a very serious cemetery.
Yes.
They do.
They do.
I think it's called God's Acre.
Yes.
Is the name of the cemetery. And it's well more than an acre.
Yeah. It reminded me of Arlington.
Yeah, there's all the same marble. I think they're marble headstones.
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was certainly an interesting place. Definitely somewhere we would probably recommend for a day trip. A good place to talk about church history in general. And you know us, we could probably talk about the Reformation, jumping off point about that as well, because, you know, Hussites predate the Reformation and lots of connections there that you can talk about too, which is always nice. And I started putting all these ideas down in a book format, so one day we might have a adventure guide for y'all that might be helpful for when you go to some historical places, for just some talking points with kids and things like that. Because it's lots of fun. So much fun to discover history together. Usually I'm reading about it before we go there. That way when she asks the question, I can try to answer it. Not always, but I can try. And it's a lot of fun to learn as a family and to try to keep everything centered on Christ and a biblical worldview. History's not always pretty, but history gives us lessons, and we can always point to God's sovereignty and to Christ through history and science.
Yeah.
We'll have to do some of our more science-y trips discussions too.
So, what was your favorite part about Old Salem?
I'm not sure. I really like those buildings that have the wood and the brick. The bridge is very pretty. The covered bridge is probably the thing that they're most known for, at least locally.
Yeah.
It was very decked out for Christmas. They have the Moravian star hanging different giant ornaments, really.
Yeah.
In the covered bridge, and it was just really pretty. Lots of people taking pictures, and family pictures and Christmas pictures.
Yeah.
in the bridge, on the bridge, and I liked that it wasn't too much for a day trip. Personally, probably would have liked more signage.
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate people who spend their time, you know, devoting time to historical interpretation and helping people learn. But, you know, sometimes I want to know about a building that might be a private residence. Can you put a plaque on it for me? But it was a lot of fun. What was your favorite part?
I would probably say close to the same thing. Like, just, I think probably the square was quite nice. It was. Because you had like a whole bunch of people there in the square, and there's music, and you know, they have different like things going on. Like one lady, she had, I think it was some type of organ that she was showing people how it worked. And there were some other folks that were selling candles, and they were telling people about the candles, and just a whole lot of stuff like that going on in the square there.
I saw them talking about different Christmas traditions as well in the square. I saw someone talking about the Moravian star ornaments and things like that. There was one other thing that they were talking about, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of different things that they had in that square that were really, really neat. So I guess we're probably at a good place to wrap this kind of review episode. We figured this was a good idea to do when we put out a wandering video. travel video, just for some more background and information on it. It was definitely interesting. Probably a good day trip, or if you're visiting the area, good place to go spend an afternoon or a morning. But definitely check out our video that Josh has put together. He's definitely our video person. he trust me, he does way more than just the videos, but that's probably his favorite part. But it was a lot of fun to get to make as a family, and we hope that it is fun for y'all to watch and edifying for y'all to watch, just like we hope this is edifying to y'all. We're hoping that the videos and things that we put out can be helpful to other Christian families. We struggled with finding good Christian family content, which was kind of part of the idea of the Wandering Pilgrims.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
So check that out. I'll also be putting out a post on our website about our trip to Old Salem with some pictures and some more information, some links and things if you'd like to check it out a little bit more to see if it's somewhere you'd like to visit. But unless you have anything else to add, I think we're pretty much at the end. So...
Yes, watch the video, please.
You worked very hard on that. And we had a lot of fun making it. And we hope people have a lot of fun watching it. But you can find that on YouTube and probably on our Facebook page as well. Facebook and Instagram are probably the easiest places to find us. But I know you can find it if you sign up for our email newsletter that we've started on our website. And if you sign up for that, you're guaranteed to never miss any of the things that we put out. Unlike on social media, where things get buried and go missing.
Yep.
But we're also on the more obscure social media sites now too, like Parler and MeWe and Gab and those kinds of things. On Rumble too, still figuring out Rumble. And then there's also, if you'd like to support us in any way, help us make more of these travel videos and reviews and things like that we're putting out that we hope are helpful to everybody, you can find us on Patreon. We're still figuring out how to use that, but we are starting to put out Patreon exclusive content. They get to our patrons, shout out to y'all, thank you very much. Get to find out where we're going, where we've been, get extra footage and pictures, as well as some other extra things on there. You can check that out at the link in the description, and then also there's a link to our shop too, which we've had a lot of fun making the stuff in our shop. But we hope everything that we're doing is edifying for y'all, because we love doing this and we love going places and talking about scripture and the Lord with our daughter and with each other. But we wanted to share that with others as well. So we hope that these things are edifying to y'all, because we care very much about y'all. You're an encouragement to us, and we're thankful for you. So, especially with it being around Christmas, we wanted to make and take extra effort to express that to all y'all that are listening. We really, really appreciate y'all and are thankful for you. And we pray for y'all. And we hope that you will have a wonderful Christmas season and Advent season, and share the gospel with as many people as possible during this season. So with that being said, Merry Christmas from the Wandering Pilgrims.
Merry Christmas
to our Wandering Pilgrims family. And keep wandering, pilgrims.